as the kinky head race. I am also a proud representative of Noon and Nupu by way of our great and noble messenger, Afro Unu Nupu. All right, so go ahead, Kens, introduce yourself real quick. Indeed, indeed,
True
amazing.
peace can't. Yes, yes.
Go ahead.
True peace, Kens and friends. I'm Nibu Ray Uno Nupu. I'm a representative of Noon Science. Um, by way of Nupu that has been presented to the woolly haired Ethiopian race by the name of Afro Unu, the true philosopher of nature science,
hmm
um, basically bringing us forth that power source that we are all connected to, as far as being connected with the cosmos and getting into that knowledge of astrology and knowing that we are connected to the orbs, the Ennead, the nine planets, eight of them being female, the Ogdoads, and what makes the nine is Ra or Ray.
hmm
So basically, this information I know it's going to be even more fulfilling to the mind and to get to keep us Noonabus as well as the newcomers in alignment with becoming non-mind noble beings. True peace.
Indeed, indeed. Excellent and powerful introductions from our noble kins, Nibu and our noble kin, Karu. These are some very powerful and strong individuals who help make Noon very powerful. So we hope that we can get more people on board in order to get us, to where we need to get to. So, all right. All right. So here we go. Let me pull up the screen. You can see the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So we'll get the party started right now. Um, we left off yesterday with alien education, which was a powerful, 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 powerful episode. If you guys didn't see it, or you guys
True indeed.
you guys and gals
True
didn't see
indeed.
it, yeah, if you guys and gals didn't see it yesterday, I would I would very much challenge you to just go and take a look, listen through. There will be some things that will be created, out of that particular episode and other episodes as well. But I want you all to go and check it out because it's going to help resurrect your minds in many different ways. Okay. But today we're going to move on to how to economize. Okay, so economize, basically getting your money and welfare in order um, when it comes to dealing with Caucasian capitalism. Okay, So here we go. So we're only gonna do 4 paragraphs today. I'm hoping it's gonna run 30 minutes, but we're gonna see. I'm only gonna stop at 4 paragraphs. Okay. So once again, I always got to give the intro on the nine ball. This is our approved symbol by our messenger and noble king, Afro Unu. This circle with the N and the T, right? So in the next coming books, you won't see this T anymore. Next time you'll see this T is in the nature books, and it'll be right under the ball, and that will be that's actually called the Ethiopian Ankh, right? But right now we're going with the circle with the N on it, okay? All right, the nine-ball. That is the name of these books. This is Count Two, Liberation Information, published by those who care, written by Wunupu, who happens to be Afro Unu, Asunupu, who happens to be Gipu, and Nabanupu, who happens to be Sipu, printed in the United States of America, and it is dedicated to Ethiopian liberation, New York, 1971. 1971 happens to be a 9 year. Okay. And I'll do like I always like to do, which is to read the first paragraph, right? And then I will move on to the artificial intelligence, chat GPT, so that it can give us a nice breakdown and help us find some information that we may not have known before that is related to the information that we are following. Okay. So we're going to start with how to economize. All right. Number 27. Just as correct information is the foundation of mental life, proper economy is the foundation of physical life. The mental controls the physical. Of course, to economize means to buy only what you need. Most Caucasian holidays are commercial holidays designed to drain the poor and ignorant of the little finance that they may have been left from paying bills. Most Caucasian holidays are designed to make the poor poorer and the rich richer. We are Ethiopians. Forget about Caucasian holidays. And as events happen among us that presuppose an Ethiopian holiday, we will declare it. In other words, we must create our own holidays as we reach the stages of progress in life that warrant such declarations. Caucasian holidays are stigmatic days for us to help, for us that help keep us economic slaves and captives. That is, their holidays help keep us economically dependent on Caucasians because Ethiopians, out of ignorance, spend unnecessary money for Caucasian holidays. Okay, so that so I want to also show y'all something too, because I'm gonna just hide y'all in the back for a second um so that what you call it so that people could see the calendar that I created. I created a calendar, and it's called the Zodiac, right? And the Zodiac is a calendar based upon the the sun moving through the 12 houses of the zodiac. All right. Um, I'm not gonna be able to explain it because in order for me to take myself off the screen, it what you call it? It will I won't be able to speak, but I want y'all to see it for a quick second. All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm working on something very special as far as the Zodiac is concerned. So in due time, when you all see it, is going to be something that's very powerful. So, you know, when y'all see it, you're gonna be like, "Oh man, the nude ain't playing." Yeah, I put on for my culture. Okay, I don't play games when it comes to when it comes to Nupu and Noon, okay? I'm one of the most fiercest warriors of Noon, and I'm also an intellectual as well. So, I've been down the path of debating doctors and scientists and so-called scientists and I've been through the ringer. Um but when it comes to Noon, I know I'm always going to win cuz Noon has correct information, and that information allows me, yeah, it allows me to be a mental giant as well. Okay, but y'all see the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, amazing. So I always give some credit to the Chat GPT because Chat GPT helps us to track down information throughout the internet and throughout other sources that allow us to help to break the information down a little bit further than what's already done in the books. So Afro Unu already made it plain and simple that nature knowledge is exactly what it is. He's not going to water it down. He's not going to do anything like that. The information is what it is. So what we wanted to do was to just help him spread the information a little bit more and bring the mundane aspect to the information so that people can maybe get a small a more closer connection to what they may know already. Okay, so that's what Noon does. Noon is allowing you to see the mundane aspect so that you can make your comparisons and see that this science is truly within other sciences, and it is also the science of sciences. Okay, all right. So I asked the chat to break down the paragraphs, right? So I'm gonna skip down because what I usually do is I put the whole text in there, and then I let it know that I want to do it paragraph for paragraph, and I repaste the first paragraph again. Okay. And it says, okay, awesome. It says, awesome. Let's do a tight, evidence grounded breakdown of paragraph 27 that keeps your liberation frame while bringing in economics, psychology, and history. Correct information equals proper economy and liberation. Core claim in the text. Mental clarity precedes material freedom. Commercialized holiday drain wealth from the targeted community. Therefore, create values align community defined observances instead. Number one, what the data says about holidays and money. Holiday periods are peak extraction moments. U.S. winter holiday retail sales are now approach 1 trillion from November to December alone, a scale that structurally concentrates revenue in large retailers and platforms. You see how much money they're banking on just from November to December? They cutting up the pie right now, thinking about y'all. They salivating right now, waiting on people to spend money they don't got. Also, we dealing with inflation. We dealing with a whole bunch of things right now in the economy as on this present day. Because today is October 26th, in the Caucasian year 2025, and we're dealing with a lot. All right. Debt and credit intensifies around holidays. Regulators and researchers document seasonal spikes in credit card balances at year end that are then paid down after New Year. Evidence that households stretch to meet holiday spending pressure. Buy now, pay later surges in quarter four. The U.S. Consumer Watchdogs finds simultaneously buy now, pay later loans spike during holidays, increasing repayment complexity and risk for lower liquidity shoppers. Adobe also projected a record 18.5 billion buy now, pay later holiday spend. You see how much money? First of all, we at the bottom of the totem pole. We don't even have the money, but yet we are spending the money. And now they're telling you they have these buy now, pay later, which is another trap to use money that you already don't even have. So now you're putting yourself in further debt. All right, takeaway. Holiday calendars are predictable high pressure moments where market plus easy credit amplify outflows from households, especially those with tighter cash buffers. See that? Why holidays trigger spending? Psychology and social norms. Emotional spending. Peer-reviewed work shows negative effect. Sadness, stress can raise willingness to pay. Retail therapy effects are well documented. During holidays, social obligations plus mood regulation increase purchase likelihood. Social pressure framing. Recent behavioral economics research finds that meanings attached to holidays, indulgence, social duty, financial concern predict propensity to spend and to borrow in the pre-Christmas period. Takeaway: beyond choice, there's measurable social emotional pressure that tilts people toward higher spend and short-term credit. Number three, historical context. How holidays became commercial engines. The late 19th to early 20th centuries saw department stores advertising an urban spectacle deliberately fuse holidays with consumption. Window displays, parades, gift norms, a strategic shift in US consumer capitalism. Takeaway: the holiday equals buy association didn't just happen, it was built by retail, advertising, and urban elites to organize public life around commerce. I hope y'all know that right there is what had taken place, what capitalism did. Capitalism took away the holiday aspect and added the buying associated part with it. Holidays never had anything to do with buying. You understand what I'm saying? So they had to take your emotional awareness away from you by telling you you have to buy a gift. These are now the social norms. Holidays were nothing about buying gifts. You go back to Kemet. I should have asked it to do a Kemet breakdown, and if Kemet had anything to do with gifts, we weren't buying gifts. There was significance with the holidays. Okay. Number four, interpreting the text liberation logic with evidence. The paragraph argues that participating uncritically in majority design holidays channels wealth outward from marginalized communities. While the text uses racial language, see, ChatGPT is funny. While the text uses racial language, the verifiable mechanism is calendar based consumer mobilization. Fixed dates plus platform promotions plus social norms equals predictable cash flows and debt upticks, credit cards, and buy now, pay later. Evidence above supports the mechanism, even if one brackets the text racial framing. Number five, reason and practical implication evidence line. Information first, spending plan second. Treat November to December and other gift heavy dates as financial what? Storm seasons. Pre-commit caps and cash only rules reduce post-season debt. Regulators data show balances rise in quarter four. Anticipate and blunt. Community defined observances. Anthropologically, ritual calendars organize value and attention. Designing Ethiopian center milestones, achievement days, rites of passage, health festivals lets you shift spend from consumption to investment. Savings drives, education funds, business patronage days. Historical precedent equals new holidays have been consciously created in the US. For example, Kwanzaa to align celebration with cultural aims. I myself celebrate Kwanzaa. Though I know the man who created it, uh, had a deep past. But I celebrate that holiday for the cultural significance of it. All right, and to offset the Christmas holiday, I celebrate Kwanzaa. Okay. Number three, merchant mix strategy. If celebration does involve buying, redirect it towards community businesses and productive assets. Books, tools, training, savings bonds for children. Retail history shows who owns the merchant infrastructure shapes where the surplus lands. Credit hygiene during holidays. Avoid stacking buy now pay loans and revolving balances simultaneously. The I think this is a consumer financial. Let me hold on. I'm gonna tell y'all real quick, not to get all confused. Okay, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Yep, shows multi-loan buy now pay loans is common in quarter four. Raise your friction, cool off periods, mandatory budget checks. Okay, one sentence synthesis. Evidence from retail economics, credit behavior, psychology, and history supports the paragraph's core mechanism. Commercialized holiday calendars predictably intensify household outflows and short term borrowing. So, communities seeking liberation should rebuild their calendars and norms to convert feast day pressure into assets, not liabilities. Okay, says would want me to draft a values aligned holiday framework. Next, names, dates, rights, spend to invest actions. I said, oh man, I said, nah, we could do that at the end. Let's proceed to paragraph 28. It was going to start doing what we did yesterday. All right. Well, with the creation of something after the fact, but I'm not going to do that tonight. Remember, we only going to do 4 paragraphs. Okay. Paragraph 28. The base of the economy is food, shelter, and clothing. Therefore, proper economy is proper food, proper clothing, and proper shelter, the necessities of life. Anything other than sufficient food, clothing, and shelter, and the tools and means necessary to get and maintain these necessities is luxury. A people or race striving and struggling for liberation cannot afford luxuries. For all our excess powers, economical, financial, scientific, and educational, and otherwise, should be pooled and directed towards making our communities and race independent and self sustaining. The Caucasian is not selfish when it comes to his children. The Caucasian says that if he does not reap the harvest of his works and plannings, his children will, because he knows his future is his children. We must secure our future, and our future is our children too. I mean, look at how many billionaires exist today and millionaires. That was done by their ancestors. They set up a system like this so that their children could be the billionaires and rule us. That's how that works. We have to be doing the same thing for our race. Now let's unpack it in chunks. A base of economy is food, clothing, and shelter. Therefore, proper economy is proper food, proper clothing, and proper shelter, the necessities for life. Key idea at root, economy is satisfying basic needs, nutrition, attire slash clothing, and dwelling. Evidence and reasoning. In anthropology slash economic anthropology, the concept of livelihood emphasizes how societies organize activities to meet material necessities such as food, shelter, and clothing, production, exchange, and consumption. In sociological theory, functional prerequisites of societies include adaptation, securing basic material needs as a precondition for other social systems. Historically, foraging, horticulture, pastoral societies prioritize food, clothing, skins, woven garments, and shelter, temporary or permanent dwellings, as fundamental survival items. For example, the Open Stacks anthropology textbook notes at the most fundamental level are the basic necessities of food, clothing, shelter, and health. Reinterpretation in your text, New Science slash Ethiopian Liberation. recognizing that property economy means focusing resources first on what sustains life rather than diverting them into extraneous consumption. Aligns with your view. Mental, correct information to physical property economy liberation. That's right. We got to focus on what is sustaining life first instead of spending all this money. B, anything other than sufficient food, clothing, and shelter, and the tools and means necessary to get and maintain these necessities is luxury. Key idea: beyond the necessities lies luxury. Resources directed towards non essentials may detract from survival and liberation efforts. Evidence and reasoning. In economics, there's a concept similar to Engel's law. As income rises, proportion spent on food decreases and more goes into other goods, including luxuries. In subsistence economies, anthropologists define such economies as directed to meeting basic necessities with little surplus for luxuries. Historically, societies under source constraints during famines and subsistence crises show how lack of basic undermines ability to invest in anything beyond survival. Interpretation in your text: if a community is still struggling to secure food, clothing, shelter, the pursuit of luxury distracts and drains resources from liberation and self-sufficiency. Oh man, how many of us try to get that Gucci bag and that Louis Vuitton and you broke? You barely got a roof over your head. You barely got food. You're living on food stamps. You're feeding your children garbage, but yet we got money for those luxury bags and those luxury sneakers and the things that we don't need. Okay, I'm not talking about the rich folk, but even with the rich folk, they go broke too. A lot of them grow broke because they spending a lot of money on the luxuries instead of allowing that money to grow for themselves. Okay. So moving on. Tools and means necessary to get and maintain indicates investment in infrastructure, means of production, land, skills, etc. These are not luxuries but necessities for sustainability. C, a people or race striving and struggling for liberation cannot afford luxuries. For all our excess powers, economical, financial, scientific, and educational, and otherwise, should be pooled and directed toward making our communities and race independent and self sustaining. Key idea: for people aiming for liberation and autonomy, resources must be pooled and directed towards self sustaining systems, not luxury consumption. Evidence and reasoning. Economic anthropology emphasizes how control of production, exchange, and surplus is key to self sufficiency and autonomy. Historical examples: post colonial societies often struggle to build independent economies because surplus is extracted, not reinvested in local capacities. Sociologically, collective investment, social capital, communal enterprises, improves resilience, seafood sharing networks, redundancy of relationships, etc. Interpretation in your text: you're calling for redirecting excess powers toward building community infrastructure, schools, businesses, health, cultural renewal, rather than individual consumption. The emphasis on pooling aligns with community ownership and shared resources, which links to paragraph 32's business control theme. We not there yet. The Caucasian is not selfish when it comes to his children. The Caucasian says that if he does not reap the harvest of his works and plans, his children will, because he knows his future is his children. We must secure our future, and our children is our future. Sorry, and our future is our children too. Key idea: the reflection here: colonial white societies plan generational, ensuring wealth passes to children. Liberation oriented communities must adopt the same generational orientation. One of the things that I must say, and I inject here for anybody that's listening: the way that you pass wealth from one generation to the next, the cheapest thing you could do and the most efficient thing you could do is get you a life insurance policy. Okay, a life insurance policy allows your children to get that short-term cash right up front. Something happens to you, that's a couple thousand, couple hundred thousand, or even $1 million, depending on how much you paying into that policy. The very next day they cut a check once they get that death certificate from the life insurance policy. Okay, so that is very, short-term investment. The second investment is property, but there's things around that property that you got to be careful with. From what I've learned is turning your property into a trust, because I've heard that if you have it in a will, there's a way that the government, or if somebody was scheming on your house because it's a cash cow, there's ways that they could go around that will. But if you have a trust, they can forward that trust to you, and that house will go into that trust. And there's ways that you could go about it with it being tax free, because if you just get a house passed down to you from the time that the person dies, you have to pay taxes on what the house is worth on the day that that person dies, not the original amount of what they paid for it. So let's just say, for example, the house is $100,000 when they bought it, and now it's worth $1 million. If they have it in a will and the house is just passed down to you, you have to pay taxes on $1 million because that house was given to you. But if it's put in a trust, and you got to do certain tax things. Once they pass the house from $100,000 to you, you don't even have to pay $100,000 on the taxes. Why? Because the house is now gifted to you. You don't have to pay a single penny. Now that house is yours. Okay, so that's just a little bit of the things that can occur. I mean, the cataclysm is coming, but still, we don't know what can happen tomorrow that can allow us to get some kind of economic boost. Okay, right. So whether the cataclysm comes next year, 2 years, or 3 years from now, still be prepared, because that little extra money can help. Okay, all right, moving on. That was just my little nugget real quick. Evidence and reasoning. Wealth transmission and generational planning are well documented. Inheritance, family businesses, education, investment lead to generational mobility. You see, from an anthropological perspective, many societies invest in children, education, health, land as future capital and stability. Interpretation in your text encourages long term thinking, not just immediate consumption, but building for children's future. Education, land, and business implies change of mindset, moving from get what I can now to build what will serve the next generation. Ties directly into liberation. Independence is not just for now, but for the descendants. Summary of paragraph 28 with your framework integration. This paragraph asserts that property economy begins with meeting and maintaining the basic material basics, food, clothing, shelter, and ensuring the means to maintain them. Everything beyond that, luxury, diverts vital resources. For people striving for liberation, the key is to pool resources, invest in independence, and adopt a generational horizon, mirroring how dominant societies plan for their children, so that children inherit freedom and infrastructure, not further dependence. Actionable points for your 9-ball series and strategy. Define what qualifies as sufficient food, clothing, shelter in your community context. Health, culturally appropriate diet, durable clothing, safe and stable shelter infrastructure, inventory, tools, and means necessary to maintain these: land, farming slash gardening plots, communal kitchens, sewing workshops, housing cooperatives, access to clean water and energy. Identify luxury outflows in your community context: fashion styles, imported foods, commodities that drain currency, debt finance consumer goods. Plan a generational investment strategy: children's education, apprentices, business, seed funds, Land trusts. You see what I just said? Land trust. Remember, you got to put it in a trust. Treat this as part of economy, not separate from it. Okay. Once again, it says if you like, I can prepare a mini report with supporting graphs and data. For example, Ingalls curves, subsistence economy models, and generational wealth transfer tax statistics that can incorporate in your book or presentation. Now we're gonna do that later. Let's go to paragraph 29. Another gimmick the Caucasian uses to strip poor and ignorant people of their finance and economic styles, and economic means is styles and fashions. We are Ethiopians and we must forget about Caucasian styles. Most Caucasian styles are uncomfortable and unhealthful because of their tightness, and some are downright indecent. Caucasian styles are not designed to aid life but destroy it. The female with spike heels on A's death, her tight girdle and other tight wears, and the male's tight belt and tight tie are not designed to prolong life. Tight clothing causes poor blood circulation and thereby circulatory problems. Caucasian styles and fashions are mainly for lewd and commercial purposes and to be different from other races. Some Caucasian styles excite the male into sexual slavery, by which means Leviathan, the zodiac, uses to keep the captives' minds preoccupied and diverted from the pursuit of liberation. And that's a fact. All these women wear these
Yeah.
stomach things now. What's that thing called again? The stomach thing that squeeze the belly in so they could lose weight. I forgot what it's called, but
Oh,
they
you
use
talking about the
that thing.
girdle?
It's a girdle, but it's something. It's called something else though.
Oh,
That
okay.
they huh? It's a corset, but yeah, they call it something else. I can't remember the exact name of it, but that thing they wrap around their belly and they be squeezing their organs together. But
Mm.
but yeah, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. As far as the tie, I never liked that because it always symbolizes to me as a noose around the neck, a, a,
Mm.
a stylish noose
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
the neck. I never like wearing those type of ties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The
Nope.
tie is something that's it's yeah. I don't know where the Caucasian got that from, but he loves a suit and tie for his suits. You know all of for real. All right, so we're gonna move on. Now let's break it down into themes and support each with evidence and reasoning. Another gimmick is styles and fashions. Key claim. Styles and fashions are used as tools to drain financial and economic resources from the poor and ignorant. Evidence and reasonings. Research into the fashion industry shows that consumer spending trends and fast fashion cycles, drive recurrent purchase behavior, increased consumption, and waste. For example, the blog on overconsumption in fashion outlines how cheap synthetic clothing, rapid trend cycles, and low use lifespan lead to high waste and repeated purchases. Mm-mm-mm. Fashion theory, for example, the trickle down model, shows how elite classes introduce styles with lower classes imitate, thereby transferring cultural capital but also economic costs as the lower classes buy into those styles. Interpretation. The paragraph interprets style slash fashions as not as neutral but as economic tools that shift money away from the community by encouraging non-essential purposes. In your framework, Noon Science slash Ethiopian Identity, rejecting those styles is a form of economic self defense. B. Most styles are uncomfortable and unhealthful. Tight clothing causes poor blood circulation and thereby circulatory problems. Key claim. Many of these fashions are harmful physically, discomfort, circulatory, and health consequences, evidence and reasoning. Multiple medical sources highlight that wearing tight clothing can worsen gastrointestinal disorders. Remember what I was telling y'all about that stomach thing they be using, causing musculoskeletal strain, restrict circulation, increase acid reflux risk, impair breathing, and predispose to skin/nerve problems. Specifically, research shows wearing tight pants increases lumbar flexion and posterior pelvic tilt, which may lead to musculoskeletal disorders. A dermatology resource notes that non-breathable tight garments can cause skin conditions such as chafing, fungal infections from heat, moisture, and poor circulations. I guess that's where that yeast infection comes in. Interpretation. The paragraph's health claims are substantially supported by scientific evidence. Tight belts, girdles, spike heels, which impose postural and pressure challenges, do create they do create physiological stress. Within the liberation framework, this is both a health argument and a metaphor for how styles lock the body and mind into constraints. C. Caucasian styles, mainly for lewd and commercial purposes. Some excite the male into sexual slavery, by which means Leviathan, the zodiac, uses to keep the captives' minds preoccupied and diverted from liberation. Key claim: the style/fashion system serves sexual distraction and commercial capture, which diverts attention from true liberation. Maintains dependency and control. Evidence and reasoning from sociology. Fashion and beauty industries often exploit sexualization to drive consumption, influencer marketing. Social show constant new styles, highlight attractiveness, peer comparison. For example, Driven to Shop article indicates influencer and fashion consumption correlation. Anthropologically, styles can serve as status signals. Veblen Veblen style conspicuous consumption, and thereby create social competition and attention to appearance rather than to building internal community strength. The paragraph uses Leviathan/the zodiac metaphorically to indicate a system of control. Nah, this is not metaphors. This is facts. While symbolic, which is not symbolic, the underlying idea is that the style system keeps consciousness externally oriented rather than inward building, meaning the appearance, the status, and the sex appeal. Okay? Interpretation. The text asserts that fashion is not only health harmful and economic drain, but also a spiritual, psychological trap. This aligns with your new science theme: distraction, moon/zodiac versus inner knowledge, sun. Styles keep one oriented to outwards, dependent, and distracted. Summary within your framework integration. This paragraph argues that styles and fashions imposed by dominant culture serves as mechanisms of economic extraction, health degradation, psychological distraction, spiritual diversion. The text asserts that for liberation, you must reject those external styles, systems, and create your own culture of clothing, adornment, and posture, one that supports health, economy, and mind. Scientific evidence backs the health side. Tight clothing. Oh, hold on. Sorry. Sorry about that. Scientific evidence backs the health side. Tight clothing, circulatory, musculoskeletal issues, fast fashion waste, and marketing research backs the consumption trend cycle side. Actionable points for your non-ball series and strategy. Health audit of style. Create a checklist of common clothing/fashion elements: tight belts, high heels, constrictive garments, and map their physiological impact, circulation, posture, uh, digestion, using the evidence above. Economic audit of dress consumption. Track frequency of purchases due to trend changes. Map how much is spent on fashion style versus durable need-based clothing. Use industry data on fast fashion waste and life cycle. Cultural redesign of style. Define a style code for Ethiopians in your movement: comfortable, breathable, symbolic, functional. Avoid high heels, spikes, tight girdles, constrictive belts. Pair that with local production, community based clothing workshops, and reinvest savings into community assets. Conscious attention to distraction versus focus. Frame clothing and adornment not just for superficial, but as signaling systems. Acts: does this garment serve my body, mind, community liberation, or does it signal dependency slash distraction? Um, Once again, it asks to produce something again. I said, nah, we could go on to paragraph 30. Okay. This is the last paragraph, and we're going to end off here. Okay. We must learn to buy only that which we need. We cannot afford the luxury of that we want and liberate ourselves from financial and economic slavery and captivity. We owe this economizing for liberation to our children who are our future. Our children deserve a free and equal future, for they had nothing to say about their being born into this world of adverse forces bent on keeping them mental and physical captives by all means. Now let's unpack it in chunks. We must learn to buy only that which we need. We cannot afford the luxury of that we want. Key idea: distinguishes between needs and wants, emphasizes that the community must prioritize needs because wants drain resources and impede liberation, evidence and reasoning. In behavioral economics, the concept of consumption soothing and optimal budget allocation emphasizes prioritizing expenditures to meet basic needs, food, housing, and health, before discretionary spending to minimize vulnerability. Studies of low income households show that when discretionary spending wants rise relative to fixed necessary spending, financial instability increases. Financial stress research links non essential consumption with increased borrowing and reduced emergency savings. From a psychological self regulation perspective, impulse spending, buying wants instead of needs, correlates with weaker self control and higher debt accumulation. Research on self control shows its growing importance in modern economic life. Interpretation in your tech context. The directive, buy only what you need, is both economic and spiritual. It is about resource sovereignty, preserving capital within the community rather than letting it leak into want driven cycles of consumption. Framing wants as luxuries under capture emphasizes that when one spends on wants first, one gives away freedom. B, and liberate ourselves from financial and economic slavery and captivity. Key idea: economic dependency and uncontrolled spending produce a condition of slavery and captivity, figurative but rooted in real economic dynamics. Evidence and reasoning. Economic theory of dependency: when a community does not control its capital outflows, savings, investments, but instead consumes the bulk of its income externally, it remains dependent on external actors for employment, credit, goods. That dependency restricts autonomy. From a debt studies vantage, high consumer debt can reduce personal agency, increase stress, reduce capacity to invest slash investigate, thus limiting future choices. Anthropological work on liberation psychology highlights how structural economic constraints produce mental states of subordination and reduce capacity for collective agency. Interpretation in your text. The text uses slavery and captivity to capture the psychological and material loss of freedom that accompanies being financially beholden. Sorry. Economizing is thus not just a budget tactic, it is a freedom tactic. Hold on. Y'all know I like to write things down. But what I'm going to do is screenshot it. All right. We owe this economizing for liberation to our children who are our future. Our children deserve a free and equal future, for they had nothing to say about their being born into this world of adverse forces bent on keeping them mental and physical captives by all means. Key idea: the ethical imperative to economize now is rooted in the responsibility to children. They did not choose the conditions they were born into, so we must act for their liberation. Evidence and reasoning: intergenerational equity theory in economic social policy, the notion that current generations carry responsibilities to ensure future generations have access to at least the same opportunities and capital. Development studies: securing future prospects for children often depends on investment in education, health, assets rather than consumption. Diverting resources to non-productive wants undermines children's capital endowment. Culturally, many indigenous and liberation frameworks emphasize that ancestors bore burdens so descendants may be free. Similarly, descendants should have an inheritance of freedom rather than debt. Interpretation in your text: the paragraph locates economizing as an act of justice for children, not just a personal discipline. By framing children as innocent entranced into adverse forces, it underscores the structural nature of economic captivity. Thus, economic economizing is an act of structural counteraction. Summary 30 Summary of paragraph 30 with your framework integration. Paragraph 30 asserts that for liberation the community must refrain from purchasing wants and focus on needs, thereby breaking cycles of economic dependency. This e- economizing is framed not as selfish austerity but as ethical responsibility to children, the future generation who deserve freedom. The liberation path is thus intergenerational, disciplined, and rooted in need versus want clarity. Actionable points for your non-ball series and strategy. Define and list community needs versus community wants. With your movement slash community, create a formal checklist. What counts as need? For example, nutritious food, climate resilient shelter, and culturally appropriate clothing versus want, non essential gadgets, luxury fashion, and impulse travel. Create a community savings slash investment fund for children, a mechanism so that the resources saved by economizing are rechanneled into children's future. Education, trust, community, health infrastructure, and business seed capital. Develop a future heritage vision. Use your framework of noon science to articulate what a free and equal future means. And what's this? Annotate how current day actions economize and contribute to that vision. Monitor and report metrics. Track how much is spent on wants versus needs within community households. Report annual how, sorry. Report annual how funds redirected to children's programs increase. Use this data as a part of your ebook or presentation to show progress and accountability. All right. So this goes on to paragraph 31, but we're going to stop there because we're going to like I said, I wanted to keep it at the oh, what just happened? Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to pull up the. Sorry. There we go. My bad, y'all. Yeah, sorry. I thought I ended the stream for a second, but it didn't. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we here. Yeah, I'm back. Sorry. All right, that was an hour. What y'all think about that particular um breakdown?
Wow. I mean, just going into this the economy, how to economize in noon, it just basically aligns with where we at now. And this month you got Halloween coming up. Then the month after that you have Thanksgiving, and then the month after that you got Christmas, and then the month after that you got New Year's.
Mm-hmm.
So a whole lot of money is going to be spent between 4 months, which is how they end up in the trillions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just basically also want to point out as far as the buy now pay later, they were speaking on how a lot of those people that entered into that, they
Mm-hmm.
faulted on those loans.
Wow.
Just like it goes back to like what you said, it's a trap. That's exactly what people have been already doing,
Mm-hmm.
trapping themselves and not spending their money properly.
Mm-hmm.
um I mean, it's just I feel- yeah, yeah, I feel you. And then when it's that the good breakdown, especially when as far as the clothing being unhealthy and so forth of that nature, and also broke down the psychological effects of the clothing. Yeah, because they coming out with all these demonic clothing, they wearing them freely, and they may not think that it has an effect on them, but they is wearing negative energy around on their body. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I'm yeah, so that right there is just, yeah, everything as far as that, the clothing, bringing everything into noon, and incorporating clothing in that aspect would become more of a healthier psychological um, aspect of that true peace.
Beautiful breakdown. Beautiful.
Hmm. Right. Mm. Yeah, yes, exactly. I was going exactly. I was going to bring up that point as well. That goes back to what you just said about the ball spots and stuff like that. That right there, just that brings that negative energy of the moon god into your life, and you walk. you so all of that coincides. I rock the Scullies myself, but yeah. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Well,
Yeah, yeah, two piece. Yeah, yeah, y'all pretty much hit everything on the nail. This is like when me and Anoop were discussing. By the time we get to the nine ball, that's going to be kind of like modern day. But the BIE was more in the past. It could be applied to today, but it's more in the past. The root of certain characters, the Bible, and all that. But the nine ball definitely is going to be more important now because the economy is being strategically destroyed, and we've known this for a while now. As far as the so-called New World Order and all those books they wrote, and been putting out all types of movies and things. They're gonna, break America down, and they trying to pull this one government order and stuff like that. So now, and right now, what's taking place is people crying about the government shutdown, but who on food stamps, and it's different races. It ain't just blacks, but the people I've been seeing, the non-black, they got thousands of dollars worth of stamps and money, and now they look up, everything is gone, and they having a fit. And we know that eventually this stuff going to continue because it may come back on. They like to test the waters and see people emotions and crying to see who all still stuck and begging. But it really don't matter at this point because some of you have to interfere because unfortunately a lot of that information, our people is too mentally dead to deal with these things, because and even if they were doing it, the system is gonna try to cut you off on either end. Even the black people say, you know what, it's gonna work together and struggle without the food stamp. They're gonna find, but they already finding other ways to take the money. So it ain't even about the food stamp because the food stamps is not even stamps. I don't even know why they keep calling it that because it's not even physical no more. The original food stamps was paper. So once they hit EBT, it tells you that's electronic. So it's pretty much in a crypto type stance, and they can just wipe it. So same thing with the crypto. People who think they save it, as long as you don't have physical resources and able to protect your resources, then you still at somebody else's mercy. And we pretty much see the money being transferred, all that money. Larry Ellis and his son, and them buying up what is that? Paramount, Disney. They buy. Yeah, they buy they doing they pretty much doing what BlackRock doing on the digital, and you have to ask yourself why are they buying all this stuff up? Because they're gonna do one big more push, with the money and then the programming, and they're gonna change things over to what they want. Like Disney used to be on the low with
Mm.
the demonic stuff, but then they put out a movie. They keep putting it out there. But they got a movie they finna put out called Illuminati, and even in one of the Marvel movies, they had a group. Um, I think it was in Thor's Love and Thunder. I think they had a group in there called the Illuminati. It even had that even in the movie Laura Croft with what his name ex-wife Angelina Jolie when she was playing the Tomb Raider, and they had the Illuminati Council in there. And these supposed to be kid-friendly movies, so everything is pretty much out there. They believe that as long as they tell the public, even though you put it in a form of entertainment, that's supposed to count. No, it's still deception. But the message is clear that they are trying to put everybody in the same boat, and that's what we don't want to. That's what we don't want to do. We don't want to be. We was already ignorant to why we was in slavery and went through it, and we woke up. And it's
Yep.
not. It's our cycle. It won't make no sense for we still economically at the same level we was in the 50s.
Yep.
So we ain't getting no money. We not getting richer. I seen a black woman crying about she got a PhD, but she still feel like a slave. It didn't change her life. She was under the dream of college, and her parents pushed college. And that, like me and Anoop was speaking earlier, Caucasian education is the other side of religion. For those who didn't get with religion, um, it got us with college, and like you said last night, they'll never give HBCU the type of funding that they will get to need to go on and push forward. A couple of years they got to come back, and I remember Trump was saying something about that. Why y'all keep coming back for? And I think he supposed to put some money in there to get them for them to keep going for a while. But the point is, we're not in our right mind because of the spirit beings that we have on our race that Leviathan gave us. So that's why we can talk about how many millionaires and billionaires that we have, but look at the decisions that we're making. And the fact that we created every major industry with music, and we still get nothing out the deal. They copyrighted it. They trick people out of stuff. So we done gave, and because of the spirits we have, would not allow us to do anything that's gonna rival anyone else, except in the information department. It's the only thing that Afro had made clear in the nine ball, which we're gonna get to that further on when it talks about intelligence and how the Caucasian or mankind in general worship anything above six. So we have to become mentally resurrected in order to get that respect from the most prestigious of their race, who will glorify that and be like, okay, we want to work with what y'all got going on. But everybody else, we like you said last night, ain't nothing the Negro know that the Caucasian don't know. So long as we stuck on that level, and
Mm-hmm.
it's futile trying to unite until the mind is right. Two piece.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, 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 amazing commentary and breakdown by the noble kings. Y'all always outdo yourselves, man. So that's amazing. And thank you to everyone that has well, oh yeah, I didn't give my commentary. My commentary is basically um we as a community have to understand, and the crazy part is that we have the ability to change our trajectory right now. And what I mean right now, overnight. We have a spending power of about $2 trillion within our race alone, just Black Americans. And I think the GDP of Black Americans would be like the ninth or eighth richest country in the world. If we were a country, we would be the ninth richest country in the world. So it's not that we don't have the money; it's how we are spending our money. You understand what I'm saying? And because our money is getting lower and lower, the chances of us breaking this economic slavery chain is getting lower and lower. So it's making us feel like we are also a part of the capitalism field, because we refuse to pool our money together. I mean, you got Jay-Z, you got Oprah. These are all billionaires I'm naming. You got Kanye. You got all those people who could have created, um, let's just say a record label, where they can all benefit from their own masters and things like that, but they're not doing it. Yet and still, the Jew owns all the record labels and still eating off the masters of these artists. And why do we even call it masters? It just sounds crazy. But besides that, um, economizing is probably one of the most important things, next to getting your knowledge from noon. Figuring out how you can create money for yourself, how you can use different tactics to get money for yourself. The first thing is creativity. You understand what I'm saying? But you do have some mundane things you could do, like I was just mentioning earlier. You make sure you get your insurance policy. It doesn't matter how much the insurance policy is. It could be $10,000, as long as you leave something just in case someone who depends on you, like your child or a loved one, needs that extra funds that can that can utilize it in an efficient manner. So any Noonie Boos out there that have Noonie Boo children, that is something that they should do, is to make sure that they leave something for those children. And everything else is all about creativity and creating structure. I myself is looking um to create things that will allow my community to benefit from it. The clothing line, I have a clothing line too. It's called Pitching Over Clothing. Um, I also had the Zodiac calendar. I create health plans and juices and things like that for people. So I try various things to help economize myself so that I could transfer it to my community as well. But I don't want to spend too long on this particular topic. But all the responses from the Noble Kins were very powerful. The Chat GPT did what it was supposed to do as far as breaking down the information, and of course, Noon and the Nine Ball put laid the groundwork and the foundation as to how we're supposed to get this done. So for anyone out there, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, spread this information, invite somebody to the next live stream. We're probably gonna have another live stream tomorrow night, because I already finished the this chapter, so we're probably gonna have another one tomorrow night. So please stay tuned and lock back in. All right, true peace.
True peace.
All right, and all right, all right. Yeah, just ended that. All right.
Mm,
So, all right, Kens. Catch y'all tomorrow,
all
right?
right. No doubt. No doubt.
All right. Two peace.
Yeah. All right. True peace.
Mhm.
True peace.